Did you know that the Pharaohs did not begin in Egypt? The modern Egyptian, who is an Arab, is absolutely ignorant of this, when in fact, the first Egyptians came from Nubia in Africa and were very black.
Do you know that pharaohs have been existing in Africa before their first reign in Egypt in the first Egyptian dynasty? Millions of African histories have been buried. This video will enlighten us on what we need to know about pharaohs and Egypt. Let's watch and learn. And if you're watching us for the very first time, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.
When it comes to African history, it becomes highly political. Our African children need to be informed about the civilization of their ancestors. Did you know that the Pharaohs did not begin in Egypt, but began in Tarseti, a place in Nubia? It was discovered that 12 black pharaohs were reigning in Tarseti at least 200 years before even the first pharaoh appeared in the first dynasty of Egypt. The Africans at Tarseti were the first to start the use of the hieroglyphs, which is the first system of writing in the world before the Egyptians. The modern Egyptian, who is an Arab, is absolutely ignorant of this. They claim that the native Egyptians did not come from Africa, when in fact, the first Egyptians came from Nubia in Africa and were very black. The Minister of Culture in Egypt today is not an African, he is not an Egyptian. He knows nothing about the African Egyptian culture. It was not his ancestors who built the great and the huge monuments in Egypt. He is put in power to promote the culture of the Arabs and to further deceive the world that Egypt is not an African country. They deliberately and politically created the place called Middle East just so they can take Egypt out of Africa. Even when the Greek historian Herodotus visited Egypt in 460 BCE, he confirmed that the Egyptians were very black with woolly hair. In 60 BCE, Diodorus Siculus argued that they are Ethiopians sent out as colonialists, while Osiris was the leader of the colony. The thing is, when the invaders came to Africa, they took the worship of African gods and goddesses. They worshipped black women as goddesses all over Europe. They knew that the black woman is the foundation of humanity, the portal of life, and only her DNA contains all colors. The fact is that without the black woman, humanity will not exist. The black woman was the first center of worship in the world. Since around 700 BCE, she was worshipped as a goddess. In Europe, they called her the Black Madonna and Child. The point is that European women worshipped an African Egyptian woman named Isis, who is the Egyptian black mother of God. We must understand that the first worship human beings worshipped on earth was not a male pantheon, but a black African goddess named Hathor or Het Heru. She was represented with a cow face in Egyptian mythology. In the Old Testament, the golden calf worship by the Jews was in fact goddess Hathor. When the Greeks came to Egypt, they worshipped her as Aphrodite, while the Romans worshipped her as Venus. We should know this history and assimilate it to the bone.